Boom. And we should, yeah, we're recording now. So let's begin with prayer, shall we?
Yes.
Gracious God, for the technology that that allows us to meet together, even miles apart. We give you thanks, and we give you thanks that no matter where we are in these moments right now, that you are with us. I thank you for all these at this meeting and who were at last meeting, and all those folks who are ready to welcome people to Fenton United Methodist Church and back to United Methodist Church through their hospitality. So, oh God, that your presence surround us and sustain us and give us vision for what we are about to embark on in this new chapter of our lives as Fenton United Methodist Church and reopening after the COVID, well, at least for this COVID breather. At any rate, thanks, and we offer ourselves to you in the name of Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Well, good. Well, greetings, everyone. It's great to see you, and it's great to see your face and welcome you. Let's just kind of get right into it. I'm about to share a document on the screen that you will get by email, either, if not today, next week. So, Ellen, I think I've already sent it to you.
Yes, I think so.
But I'll send it to the rest of you all, either today, tomorrow, or early next week. So, as a reminder, that I've been meeting for lots of weeks with a group of folks that I've called my Next Steps Task Force. And they've helped me do a lot of thinking through 360 degrees of what we need to be thinking about as we reopen for worship. And so our guiding principle has always been in those meetings the health, safety, and well-being of all who come to worship with us, especially the most vulnerable. And we are really aware that large gatherings such as in-person worship services have heightened risks for spreading COVID-19. And so, you know, we're requiring masks, we're requiring social distancing, we'll have hand sanitizers and whatnot. So we will have all those available, and you know, this will be our best weapons to mitigate any kind of spread of COVID-19. So what I want to do today is to walk us through what it will look like for folks when they come on Sunday mornings from now on. And I'll remind you at the outset that we now have two worship services. Our 9:30 service will be our traditional style service, and our 11:05 service in Truan Hall will be our contemporary style service. There is no 11 o'clock traditional style service anymore. As we walk through the morning, you know, and it can be any Sunday morning for the foreseeable future, but I'll refer to July 5th quite often because it's also a communion Sunday. So what will happen is as people come in from the parking lot, an usher or greeter with gloves on will open the door for people and just say hello, hi, you know. Obviously, we don't want you to shake hands. We don't want you to hug anybody. Elbow bumps are fine. But all we want you to do is, if you're at the door and opening the door for somebody, is just do that. Just open the door as people come in so that people don't have to grab the door handle and possibly transfer germs. So you'll open the door and you'll say hi and let them in, and boom, there they go. We will require masks for those who can medically wear them. Now, for instance, I wear a mask, and I will do that when I'm in, you know, narthex or whatever. But when I'm preaching or when I'm praying, I will take my mask off, but I'll be on the chancel with enough distance between me and the closest person. I do that for two reasons. One is that I will that it's easier to understand a person when they're, you know, speaking into a microphone without the mask. So even our liturgists, when they get up to do the liturgy at the 9:30 service, we won't have, they can choose not to wear their mask. That's fine. but the other is that I have asthma, and it's hard for me to public speak and take in the breath I need to take with a mask on, because I throw a lot of hot air out there, right? So so I'll take the mask off for that. But other than that, I will have my mask on. But for those who are medically able and can wear a mask, we ask them to wear a cloth mask. For those who can't, okay, fine. And if a person, we will offer a mask if a person comes in without one. And if they just refuse, fine, okay. We're not going to bar anybody from worship because they can't wear a mask. Also, we talked about last night, there are some people, and the one example that comes to my mind is Sue, Florida. Sue wears a plastic face screen. Right, Sue?
She can't hear us.
Oh, that's too bad.
I've been texting her and trying to get her on. She can't hear us, but I've asked her to see if she can not read the screen, but see it, you know.
Okay. Well, anyway, so Sue wears, it almost looks like a plastic welding mask that kind of wears in front of her face. That works too, although not as well as the cloth mask, because the aerosol particles from your breath still go under the face mask and whatnot. But, you know, so anyway, we will have cloth masks, and if someone refuses, fine, we'll still welcome them to worship. And then, especially at the 9:30 service, an usher or greeter, again with gloves on, will hand out the bulletins. And again, elbow bumps are fine. Don't shake hands. Don't hug. We're asking you not to spend a whole lot of time with your friends. I know people will come in and they haven't seen you for a while, miss you, and you miss them, and they're going to want to chat. And I'm going to ask you not to do that, because we don't want a whole lot of people in the narthex at any one time. I'm going to suggest that you say, I miss you. I want to see you after worship. I don't have time right now, or I can't have you do that right now, but let's meet after worship. Okay, so I'll have you do that. So somebody coming in the door, and somebody's opening the door, then a greeter will hand out bulletins, and then a greeter with gloves on will hand out our Connect cards. Now, that replaces, for the 9:30 service, that replaces the little red registration book in the pew. There is nothing in the pews right now. No hymnal, no pencils, no, red book, anything like that. So we'll give them a Connect card, and if they need a pencil, they can take a pencil, which we will have them just put in the pew, done filling it out, and we'll retrieve those and wipe them off for next week. So again, don't shake hands, don't hug. We really want people to go right in as soon as possible into the sanctuary and sit down. On Communion Sundays, which is, of course, July 5th, our first Sunday back, we will have an usher greeter with a prepackaged communion cup and wafer. And I'll have you take one of those things with your gloved hand or your sanitized hand, and ask the person, just, say, hey, look, hold out your hand and I'll drop the communion cup in your hand. Okay? So you're not touching their hand, you're simply dropping it in their hand, and they're going to hold on to it and open it up when it's time to receive communion. At both services, but since most of you go to the 9:30 service, at both services there will be in the pews or the chairs a plastic bag that folks who are sitting in the pews can dispose of the cups into that plastic bag. And after the service, one of you with gloves on, usher or greeter with gloves on, will come and collect those bags and dispose of them. All right. Now, we do have, I've just ordered gluten-free wafers. So for those folks who have gluten allergies, if they say, hey, I need a gluten-free, we'll give them the prepackaged wafer, and then we'll also give them the prepackaged cup with the wafer in it. And I'll say, hey, look, if in my instructions, I will say, if you are a gluten-free person, now's the time to open up your gluten-free wafer and eat that, and then go right through, don't eat the communion wafer in your prepackaged cup, just go right to the grape juice, all right? So I'm going to pause there, and you need to do two things. One is to ask Ron if you will. Do you have gloves with you? Okay, so I'm going to ask Ron to demonstrate the proper way to actually remove the gloves, but he will tell you a bit more about putting the gloves on as well. Go ahead, Ron. Thank you.
Okay, the procedure as far as the gloves is concerned is that we want to wash your hands first, dry them, discard the paper towel, then put the gloves on. Putting the gloves on is not so important. The gloves are clean, but they're not sterile. You can touch the outside because your hands have now been sanitized by washing. So to put them on, just put them on like you would any other pair of gloves. Hopefully you can get your fingers in the finger holes without too much trouble. We'll have a couple different sizes. Some will be blue, some will be clear or white. So now you've got your gloves on. We'll, take part in the service, handing out bulletins, etc. Then probably after the service starts, you'll be able to take your gloves off, unless maybe one person will need to keep the gloves on for any stragglers coming in. But to take the gloves off, grab the outside of the glove with one hand. Pull it off.
Inside out.
Right,
And
inside
on the
out.
other hand, you put your finger inside the wrist, inside of the glove, then just work the glove off. The kind of work will both be inside out at that point. Throw them away. Then wash your hands for 20 seconds and dry them.
Right, wash your hands after you take off your gloves, and you'll notice that the first glove Ron took off was inside the second glove that Ron took off, and so you're depositing them, together. Good. Thank you, Ron.
And Vicki and I will both be at the service on the 5th to help with anybody there.
Excellent. Thank you. Now, yeah, go ahead.
Will the greeters need to wear gloves?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, because the greeters are going to act as ushers, and greeters will be the same thing for a while. Okay. I'll share a bit more about that in a minute. The key thing about wearing gloves is you don't touch anything but, for instance, the door. If you're at the door, you don't touch anything but the bulletins if you're handing out bulletins. You don't touch anything but the Connect cards if you're handing out those. You don't touch anything but the communion stuff if you're handing out those. Otherwise, if you're shaking hands or if you touch something, even your face, you've got germs. And what you can do is use hand sanitizer on your gloves, and then go back to what you were doing. But you really want to really don't want to touch anything with your gloves because you're just cross-contaminating, and that's why we don't want you shaking hands. We don't want you really touching anybody. The elbow hug is the elbow bump is good, that kind of thing. So, good. Any other questions before we continue? All right. Let me go back and share my my document again then. So we will have children's busy bags available. If you see a family with small children, now keep in mind that the nursery will not be available, nor children's ministry until September. So if families with small children come in, you can offer them a busy bag. Someone can offer them a busy bag, and we will dispose of that at the end. Or they can take it home. That's fine, whatever. most people, I assume, most parents will already be bringing stuff for their child to do. We've made no secret that we're not going to have nursery or children's ministry. And I think Kate will be contacting her children's ministry folks and Stephanie, her nursery folks, just to remind them that those services won't be available until September. So in the 9:30 service, every other pew will have a little sign that says, please don't sit in this pew. So we're going to have every other pew cordoned off, and then we assume that family units will sit together in the same pew. But if, for instance, Ron and Vicky West, if Ron and Vicky West are sitting in a pew, and Noreen and Denny come up and they want to sit in that same pew, great. We're going to ask them to maintain social distance even in that pew. Okay. So in the 11:05 service, we're going to have 6 chairs grouped together, and we'll have groupings of 6 chairs that will be socially distanced or 6 feet apart or more. We won't have I won't have people stand and greet one another in the usual way. So we're not going to shake hands in the service. We're not going to hug in the service. I'm going to say to folks, stand up, look 360 around you, and wave to a person, give virtual hugs, bow reverently, whatever you want, wave. But we won't have people going in the aisles, shaking hands and hugging. I'll have to put a real fast stop to that. But so that's what we're going to do there. As I said earlier, liturgists, and we're going to have soloists for the time being. For instance, so on July 5th, Matt Packer will be our soloist, and what he will do is he will lead the hymn singing, and we'll talk about singing in a minute. But those folks are certainly allowed to remove their masks. They will be on the chancel with me, and we will be, socially distant. But while they are speaking or, leading, singing or whatever, they may choose to have their masks off, and that's fine. If you're doing liturgy and you want to keep your mask on, that's fine. I just would caution you that it's hard to understand people speaking through a mask, especially through a microphone. And then if, for instance, Noreen is leading the liturgy and she gets done with the scripture reading and she wants to go down and sit with Denny, we'll have her put on her mask again and she can go sit there, or she can sit up on the chancel with me the rest of the time. Either one is fine. After the worship service, people will put their offering and their greeting card in a basket in the narthex after the worship service. So we won't have ushers going up and down. We won't have a time for offering per se. So I won't call the ushers forward. They won't collect the offering. We won't do the doxology, and we won't do the prayer of dedication. What we will do is after the service, people will leave the sanctuary. They can deposit their bulletins in a recycle bin and put their offerings and their Connect card in the basket. And then an usher or greeter with gloves on their hands will collect the offerings and collect the Connect cards. And the offerings, Ron usually does that. He puts them in a bank bag, and then the Connect cards will go in my office. And again, on July 5th or any other communion Sunday, another person with gloves is going to go around and pick up those little plastic bags with the communion stuff in it. As you know, we are encouraging people to go outside. We really don't want them in the sanctuary, the narthex, because that's really a small space. And so we'll encourage people to fellowship outside, and hopefully the weather will be certainly permittable. There won't be any coffee or snacks before, during, or after, between services. That's just a health hazard for now. And then we'll have a gloved usher or greeter at the door to hold open the door for people to exit, again, so they don't have to touch the handle or the what do you call, panic bar kind of thing. So What questions do you have about that at all? That anything that I've talked about so far?
No.
We good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, let's move on then, and it won't be much longer. So good. So we will have, as Ron said, we will have gloves for you. They will be the vinyl gloves. They won't be, what's the stuff that people are, latex. So they won't be latex, they'll be vinyl. We'll probably have, either 2 sizes or a 1 size fits most kind of thing. But we'll ask you to bring your own cloth mask. Again, we're asking you not to hug anyone, not to shake hands with anybody, not to spend a whole lot of time with people as they're coming in before service, because again, we really don't want a whole lot of people in the narthex. So we kind of want to move people along through the narthex. We also want you to be looking out for newcomers. With our online worship services, we've had a lot of folks worship with us. The numbers have been amazing. And we've had comments from people who are worshiping with us in Michigan that I don't even know their names. I don't recognize their names. So I'm anticipating we'll probably have some newcomers join us for our services. So let's be on the lookout for them and make sure that they get a welcome. It certainly won't be the welcome that they would normally get without the COVID situation, but we certainly want to welcome them anyway. As I said, there'll be no nursery or children's ministry until September at the earliest. And of course, we've got those things for kids to do if they want those. And just to remind you that we're all on a learning curve. I've never, ever reopened a church after not worshiping at it for 4 months. So I'm on a learning curve. We all are. And so love to have you email me and let me know what works, what doesn't, and what we can do to improve. Email is best because then it's written down and I don't have to try to take notes and stuff like that. So please email me with what works and what doesn't and how we can improve, and I really appreciate that. And then last but certainly not least, thank you so much for your service. There are people who are chomping at the bit to come back and see you because they've missed you, and they are anxious to come back and be in fellowship with the folks that they've missed for 4 months. So thank you for being a part of that. Before I ask if there's any other questions, I'm gonna ask Ron or Carrie if I've missed anything from last night.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No, I don't think so either. So.
Okay. Any questions? Anything you're concerned about, worried about, confused about?
No.
Okay. Great. Well, if then that's all I have. Forward to July 5th. I'm looking forward to seeing you. It's great to see your faces and hear your voices, and looking forward to once again returning to worship with the people we know and love and in fellowship once again with. So I'm all set. You're all set. And again, I will email that document that I just went over. I will email that to you again tomorrow or early next week. All right?
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
Yay.
All right. God bless. We'll see you. Take care.